Victor the extraterrestrial, Wembanyama, wee woo, wee woo. Kevin, the big ticket Garnett. I was going to compare Victor's second season to KG's second season. I've been comparing Victor's second season to a lot of other legends' second seasons and little series I'm doing right now. But if we look at KG's second season stats, it's not even a fair comparison. He's only averaging 17 points for KG, 17 points and 8 rebounds in his second season. Um, Shoot, he was playing 39 minutes per game, but he wasn't expected to become what he turned into at that point in his career. Um, so this just kind of goes to show how freaking good Wemby is. If you never watched my videos, I'm a lifelong Spurs fan, of course, but I'm going to be non-biased in my comparisons of players. But just to make it fair, it's crazy to make it a fair comparison. I'm going to have to compare Wemby's second season to KG's MVP season. I'll get into all the numbers, of course. We'll compare the numbers, then we'll compare impact as well. Um, because if you're a Timberwolves fan or an older school NBA fan, the numbers aren't going to do justice to Kevin Garnett's impact on that Minnesota Timberwolves team. He did win MVP that season, of course. I mentioned that they finished number one in the West with the Spurs and the Lakers, just being beast teams that season. Yeah, that was 2003, 2004. Um, was it the Pistons that won that year? I think it was the Pistons. Please comment below and let me know, but I believe it was the Pistons that year. But just gonna break down the numbers real quick, and then we'll kind of get into the impact and things like that. And please comment below who you think the better player in a vacuum was for that year, and then comment below which player you think would get your team closer to a championship. As far as Kevin Garnett's MVP form versus Victor Wembanyama's second year form. But we'll start off here. KG was 27 years old that season, so he was right in the middle of his prime, where Victor's only 21, so he's really nowhere close to his prime. I've made this points on previous videos. I know KG probably had a million go-to moves by that point. He had his mid-range jumper, which was great. He had a mid-post game. He had a low-post game. Pick and pop, pick and roll. He was just great offensively already. Where Wemby doesn't have one go-to move, to be honest. He doesn't have a go-to move to get an open three ball. He doesn't have a go-to low post move. He doesn't have a go-to mid-range post move. Um, and that's not exaggerating. If you watch a full Spurs game, you'll see Wemby doesn't have one go-to move. He's just freestyling, creating open shots, just with his size, and again, just freestyling and having fun out there. But once he does develop some go-to moves, I'm sure he'll be even better than he is here. But basically, my point is this is a fully developed Kevin Garnett. He's already 27, been in the league for years. He knows exactly what he's doing compared to a baby Wembanyama that's still learning. But we're comparing an MVP season to a second year season, so it just is what it is. But yeah, age difference. KG's 6 years older. Minutes per game. That's where I always like to start with. 33 minutes per game for Wembanyama up top, and then 39.4, so 39 minutes per game for KG. So Garnett had the 6 more minutes per game. That's a big difference. It's a whole half a quarter extra that KG has to score points and just accumulate stats and impact the game. All right, field goal attempts is my next thing I like to compare. 19.6 for Garnett, 18.9 for Wemby. Super close. We'll say KG has a half a field goal attempt more, so it's not a huge factor, but it's something there. All right, remember right here down low is KG's MVP season, just so you can follow along with the numbers. With that being said, the 19.6 field goal attempts for KG compared to Wemby's 19 field goal attempts. Let's see what that kind of equated to. So again, right here, MVP. 24 points for Kevin Garnett on his 19 and a half attempts. 25 points, 24.7. We'll just call it 25 points for Wembanyama on his 19 field goal attempts. So he's about a half a point ahead, even though Garnett has half a field goal attempt more. Again, not a big difference on field goal attempts, not a big difference on points either. Just a half a field goal attempt difference, a half a point difference. Um, we have to give it to Wemby. He's half a point ahead. It is what it is. It's not a small difference, but Wemby wins just by a small margin in that category. I know their field goal attempts are about the same, but keep in mind KG's playing 6 more minutes per game than Wemby. So if Wemby was playing those 6 extra minutes per game, he would be getting more shots and he would be getting or averaging more points. Again, please comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm speaking as a Spurs fan, but my takes are always unbiased, or at least I try to make them unbiased. I think even if Wemby was on a different team, I would still feel the same way about these numbers here. But yeah, move on to the blocks per game, blocks and steals. 4 blocks per game and 1.1 steals per game for Wembanyama. We're right here, KG, 2 steal blocks per game and a steal and a half per game for KG. So Wemby edges him out on blocks. He has a good 1.8 blocks more per game. We'll just call it 2 more. KG edges him out on steals by about a half a steal. Please comment below if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, even if you're not and you were just watching kind of the Timberwolves teams play back then. I was younger. I'm 31 now. I was watching this team, but I was younger. I don't have kind of a complete recollection of them. I've watched tape of Kevin Garnett and things like that, but I do know for a fact when I'm saying this, his 2.2 blocks and 1.5 steals. That's not. It's really good numbers. It's really good steals and blocks numbers, but that does not reflect his impact defensively, really at all. Kevin Garnett, he was a true 1 through 5 defender. He can guard point guards down to the centers. He could switch any pick and roll you want him to switch. He's going to play very good perimeter defense on a great ball handling guard. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are at creating your own shot on the perimeter. Let's see you try to create some room against Kevin Garnett and get a good shot. It's going to be really, really hard for you to do that because he was just a great perimeter defender for a 7 foot tall guy, and then just a great post defender as well. Some of the bigger, stronger centers and power forwards might give him a little bit of trouble when they're kind of muscling him in the post. Shaq was giving everybody trouble. Like I said, there's some of those bigger, stronger centers might give him a bit of trouble, but other than that, he was a great post defender. Great help side defender with his help side blocks. Great at playing the passing lanes. He would get a lot of steals in the passing lanes. Again, 2.2 steals and rather 2.2 blocks and a steal and a half. That's really good numbers. Just looking at numbers, if I saw those numbers, I'd say, man, this dude was a beast on defense, just off the numbers alone. But like I said, this does not do justice to Kevin Garnett's impact defensively. He's one of the best defenders of all time, and definitely you can make the argument he's the best 1 through 5 defender of all time. Please comment below and let me know what you think, but his impact on defense was like that. Kevin Garnett was a true defensive anchor. But then coming back to Victor, Garnett's got him on steals, Victor's got him on blocks, and I can make the same case for Victor. Which is crazy to say because 4 blocks and 1.1 steals. Again, just like Garnett, it's really good defensive numbers. If I saw those numbers, I'd say, this dude's a beast on defense. But if you have watched Spurs games, I'm sure it was the same thing when Garnett was playing. When people get into the lane, it's even at a higher level with Victor. It's the honestly, he's the most impactful defensive player I've seen. Again, I'm only 31, but the most defensive impactful player I've watched in my whole life. The 4 blocks, he might as well have 6 per game, it feels like, because people will dribble into the lane. They see Victor there, and they don't even think about shooting. They just dribble back out, dribble along the baseline, pass it back out for an open 3, or they just, they're doing circles in the lane, just not even thinking about shooting because Victor's down there. He blocks perimeter shots as well. Just has a huge impact defensively on the game. So back to my point, you can't just go off the numbers for these guys' defensive impact. I know if I didn't mention that, how great of a perimeter defender KG was, people be making that point. So I'm not gonna gloss over that fact. Um, Kevin Garnett, he was a better perimeter player than Victor. I'll say that. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. And then Victor's the better post defender and the better shot blocker so far in his career. But again, just comparing numbers, we got to give it to Victor on the blocks. Then we got to give it to Kevin Garnett on the steals. Because Garnett has the steal and a half compared to Victor's 1.1. Garnett has the 2.2 blocks compared to Victor's 4 blocks. 11 rebounds per game for Wembanyama compared to freaking 14 rebounds per game in Kevin Garnett's MVP season. Um, I'm not worried about Victor becoming a good rebounder. Again, KG was playing 39 minutes per game this season. Victor's only playing 33. Yeah, if you see right here, 39.4 for KG. So if Victor had the 6 more minutes per game, I can't say it's a 100% sure thing. He's going to be averaging 14 rebounds like Garnett, but he'd probably be closer to at least 12, 13, 13 and a half. Again, I can't say it's a sure thing that he's going to be at 14 because that's just a beast rebounding season. Um, I'm not worried about Victor's rebounding again, but seeing KG with the 14 rebounds per game, that gives me even more hope for Victor moving forward. Not that we don't have a lot of hope, not that his future isn't just super bright already, because it is, but with KG being a 7-footer with just a slim build, kind of more of a similar build to Wembanyama, seeing him be able to get multiple 13 rebound per game seasons just gives me confidence. Victor will probably be able to average maybe even freaking 15, 16 rebounds per game in his prime, but we'll get there. Yeah, with that being said, 3 whole rebounds ahead for KG. So like I was saying before, just a true defensive anchor, beast on the glass. Needless to say, the heart of all the teams he was on just brought so much energy, and he had the talent to go along with his energy. But moving on, 87% from the free throw line. Said before, Victor's going to be one of the best big man free throw shooters of all time, especially if he continues on his pace. I don't see him ever having a season where he shoots under 82% from the free throw line. I think he'll be over 85% for most of his career, but yeah, he's an 80% plus free throw shooter. And then right here, this bottom line is going to be Kevin Garnett's MVP season. Right here is free throw percentage, 79% in his MVP year. So yeah, KG was always a very good big man free throw shooter. I think if he was playing today, you see right here, he had an 80% season. I think if he was playing today, he'd probably be more like a 83, 85% free throw shooter, similar to Wemby. KG had a great mid-range jumper. Again, 80% from the free throw line that MVP season. If KG was born in 2000, he would have been developing his three-point shot when he was growing up. Because he definitely has the mechanics to have a three-point shot. It was just the timing of when he was playing basketball that he was in a good in-between time. I mean, that's why his game came out like it did. He had that post game in the low post. He had that mid-range post to get to his jumpers. He had the pick and pop game. So yeah, KG was a good free throw shooter, but we have to give it to Wemby, the 87% compared to the 79% for KG. But again, just different times they grew up. I have no doubt KG will be consistently over 80% from the line if he grew up practicing his jumper as much as these kids do now. And then back to the three-point percentage, 35% from 3 for Wembanyama on 9 attempts per game. So that's crazy, all the three-point attempts he's taking. People outside of San Antonio, maybe even in San Antonio, have complained about him taking too many threes and this and that. But he's just developing his shot. I don't really see him taking 9 threes per game in his prime, but we're just letting him just shoot as many threes as he wants right now, just so we can get super comfortable with his game beyond the arc. Let's see here. All right, Kevin Garnett. Right here is MVP season. So just bottom row. 25% from three in his MVP season, and it shows you attempting half a three-pointer per game. So again, like I was saying, in today's era, I bet Garnett would be taking 5 or 6 threes per game. He'd probably be working on his three-point game and have a solid three ball. Like I said, he already had the top of the key jumper. He had a good long range 2-point jumper, but the big guys just weren't really developing their three balls back then. But with that being said, it's kind of unfair comparison, but we have to give Wemby the edge in the 3-point percent, even though Kevin Garnett was not taking any back then. All right. Yeah, just kind of go back over things. I'm about to make my comment about who I think is just the better vacuum player and who's the more impactful player. Um, you know, Kevin Garnett's MVP season versus Wemby's second year. But we'll quickly go back over the numbers. 24.2 for Kevin Garnett versus the 24.7 for Wemby. So it's only a half a point difference, but we have to give Wemby the edge in points per game. Keep in mind, field goal attempts. Kevin Garnett's taking 19.6, Wemby's taking 19. Just a half attempt more for Kevin Garnett. And then Wemby has the half a point more. But one thing that's a bigger factor is the minutes per game. KG was playing 39 minutes per game, where again Wemby's at the 33, so it's 6 less minutes per game. If Wemby was playing those 6 more minutes per game, I'm sure he'd be taking more shots and probably averaging more points. But it is what it is. Wemby's a half a point ahead, so we got to give it to Wemby. On the points, 2.2 blocks for KG compared to the 4 blocks for Wemby. So Wemby wins on the blocks. 1.1 steals per game for Wemby. 2.2 steals per game. Rather right here. 1.5 steals per game for Kevin Garnett. So we have to give Kevin Garnett the steals per game. 5 assists per game for Kevin Garnett. That's actually something I didn't even mention there. How can I forget the assists? Kevin Garnett's got him on the playmaking. He was the offensive centerpiece for the Timberwolves back then. And another point that I'm about to make, I didn't make it yet, but I'll make it before the video is over. But yeah, the 5 assists for Kevin Garnett compared to the 3.7 for Wemby. Again, Kevin Garnett was the whole world for this team. He led them to the #1 seed in the West. He definitely deserved his MVP. He won that season. In a second here, I'm going to list off the Minnesota Timberwolves roster from that year, and I just want you to see how many of these players you even know the name of, because Kevin Garnett did not have very much help at all. Didn't really have any help, to be honest. But yeah, the 5 assists compared to the 3.7. So you got to give Kevin Garnett the advantage in the playmaking. 14 rebounds per game for the big ticket compared to 11 rebounds per game for Wemby. So give that to Garnett. He's 3 rebounds clear of Wemby. Wemby's got him on the free throw shooting. 48% from the field for Wemby, where Kevin Garnett was right here. 48% from the field. Actually, it's down here. 50% from the field for that season. Here you go, his MVP season right here on that bottom row. So 50% from the field. Garnett edges him out on the field goal percentage, and that's really impressive as well, because his game wasn't all post game. He was still shooting some mid-range shots. He wasn't shooting freaking 9 threes per game like Wemby is, but he was attempting outside shots. That's really impressive, the 50% from the field. So Garnett beats him in field goal percentage. Wemby's got him on the free throw percentage. Wemby's got him on the 3-point percentage. Needless to say, again, Garnett was not shooting threes back then. Yeah, I kind of presented all the numbers. Please comment below and let me know what you think about the players. I'll say, again, I'm a diehard Spurs fan, but I'm gonna have to say, if we traded Victor Wembanyama right now in his second year, hypothetically for this MVP version of Kevin Garnett, we would be closer to winning the championship this year. That's one way that I equate things. If you traded the player which player puts you closer to a championship this year, um, just for that one season. I think it's fair to say Kevin Garnett would put us closer to winning a championship than Wemby this season. But we're comparing Kevin Garnett's MVP season to Victor Wembanyama's second season in the NBA, which just goes to show how great Wemby already is and the types of talent we have to compare him to. Right here is Garnett's second season in the NBA. He was averaging 17 points and 8 rebounds per game. He was still playing over 35 minutes per game. So, Wemby just dominated him in his second season. Again, Kevin Garnett was not projected to be what he ended up being at that time. But yeah, I would take MVP Garnett over second year Victor. Again, I'm a diehard Spurs fan, but I can't be biased about that fact. Another thing I want to point out. I already let y'all know the Minnesota Timberwolves finished #1 in the West that season, and there was probably eight 50-win teams in the West that season. I have to go back and check, but the West was just stacked. It was always stacked in those early 2000s with the Lakers and the Spurs and all those dominant teams at that time. But here, let me name off some players from Kevin Garnett's roster that season. There's one player that I expect a lot of people to probably know the name of, and then I was a pretty big NBA fan at this time, and I don't even know freaking 90% of these players. All right, so you have Kevin Garnett, of course. Of course, he's the cornerstone of the roster. I have Nuduri Ebi. I don't know who that is. Anthony Goldwire. Who? Trenton Hassel. I think I remember Trenton Hassel. Please let me know if you do. Fred Hoiberg. I don't know who the hell that is. Troy Hudson. Irvin Johnson. That's not Magic Johnson. Quincy Lewis. I think I remember Quincy Lewis, but he wasn't some crazy player. Mark Madsen. Maybe Derek Martin, Keith McLeod, Oliver Miller. Like, who are these dudes? I don't even know who these dudes are. He took this team to the #1 seed in the West. I'd love to say Wemby's better than MVP Kevin Garnett. Again, it's not a fair comparison. I have to compare second year Wemby to Kevin Garnett's Super Saiyan 3 form. But it just goes to show how great Wemby is. I'm gonna name the one player on the team that y'all probably would know, Sam Cassell. He was their point guard, and Sam Cassell was always a solid player. He wasn't a superstar or anything like that. He was already 34 years old or so at that time, so he was already towards the end of his career. But yeah, I just wanted to compare really quick, just how ridiculous Wemby is at this young point in his career, and also shine some light on how great Kevin Garnett was in that MVP season. But please comment below what you think. I think that Kevin Garnett would get us closer to a championship, this season if we made that swap. And I also think Kevin Garnett's just a better player in a vacuum, just for that season. Not to hate on Wemby again. I love Wemby, and I'd rather choose him just from my biased viewpoint. But again, I try not to be biased. MVP Kevin Garnett was just a better player at that point. But yeah, if you made it to the end, please comment below who you think the better player is in a vacuum. Please comment below who your NBA team is, and if you think that Kevin Garnett in his MVP year or Wemby in his second year would make more impact on your team. And yeah, please like and subscribe if you made it to the end of my video. It really helps out. My videos just get more out there and more people see them from my channel. And we look forward to seeing you guys again next time.